do the right things. France cannot erase our people. The reason is clear. Because of the mineral deposit that is found in Southern Cameroon, the mineral deposit, and that is the top priority why France is initiating that La Republique controls Southern Cameroon, that will provide an avenue of harvesting for the French authority to go in and harvest the mineral in Southern Cameroon. That is why you see France continue to mitigate in Southern Cameroon because of the mineral deposit found in Southern Cameroon. That is why it's a priority of interest. You can see from the British government, why this war is going on in Southern Cameroon. The British Minister of Trade, according to the British Journal, that the oil, the gas, the natural gas will give 1.5 billion, both La Republique du Cameroun and the British government, and fundamentally ignore the question of the crisis that is currently going on in Southern Cameroon. Citizens of Southern Cameroon are being murdered, citizens are being killed, but British government didn't see this as a priority. But the British government see the natural gas exploitation as a top priority. And that is why you find France, they are interested on the mineral of Africa. They are interested in the mineral deposit of Africa and not the indigenous people at all. And that is why you see what the war that is going on. We have lost 7,000 people in our own territory. But it didn't make sense to the British government. It didn't make sense to the French government. But they are more interested on the mineral deposit rather than the interest of the people that surround that environment. And that's why 7,000 didn't make any meaning. Imagine that 7,000 people were killed in Europe. Imagine that a single person was killed in Europe. It would have been an emergency meeting session holding at the United Nations headquarters, holding in Brussels, which is the European headquarters. Of course, but now that it's in Africa where they harvest the mineral, it wasn't a prerogative for them to take that as an emergency because it is a third world country. And that is the problem that we find in Africa. France, Britain, they are more concerned with the mineral deposit rather than the indigenous people. And that is why I'm bringing this attention to the world community to understand why we have to fight. But on the question of the people of Southern Cameroon, the people of Southern Cameroon has a defined government. They have a government that functions, that has transferred power from elected officials to the next elected officials, from Endele to Ngu Foncha to Ngumjua. Those were the three executives that power was transferred. La Republique has never in any circumstances transferred power from one elected official to the next. From Amadou Ahidjo of 25 years in dictatorship to the current one that is disappearing. He doesn't exist, he's dead. But they don't want to come and clear and announce that he's dead because they're still thinking about the power vacuum, who to replace him. Paul Biya is absolutely dead. He's no longer alive. If they want to agree that he's alive, let the other media go and interview him. Yes, if Paul Biya is still alive today, if Paul Biya is alive, let other media interview. Why is only CRTV, the one single TV station which is owned and operated by the La Republique government, is the one that is capable to interview a dead person? What about the CNN? What about other media stations? What about Equinox? What about others? They should grant them an open, clear interview with one of them if he is actually alive. If Paul Biya is actually alive, he's dead. But they're trying to looking for vacuum, either to replace him with his son or to replace him with Ferdinand Ngongo. And so because of that vacuum, they're just confused. One will listen from a few days ago when they go into a media and start declaring that it was a media that the president addressed the nation. What president that addressed the nation? They thought people are just fool, idiots. Does La Republique think people are idiots? Of course not. But they seem to believe that people outside La Republique are idiots, and so they're so stupid and simply because they're so stupid and they cannot reason. And that is why they can use their CRTV and say, oh, Paul Biya addressed the nation. I mean, it is very unfortunate to have this. And it happens with the Francophones, of course. You all know Humphrey Bouigny, the president of Ivory Coast. He died for almost 6-7 months without them knowing that the president was dead. And that is exactly what is going on in La Republique du Cameroun. When Humphrey Bouigny of Ivory Coast, when he died, it was 6, 7, 8 months before they could even realize that there was no president. And that is what La Republique is doing, exactly the same. When president is dead, and they try to seem to make people to understand that the president is still alive, whereas he is already, if he is alive, if Paul Biya is alive today, let him address other media stations, not only just CRTV. Not just only CRTV. People are not stupid. You know? Let other media interview Biya verbally. Let him speak and let people listen. It's not a fabricated story that they will make and what they call deep press, deep fake news, when they manipulate studio and present it as an images of someone addressing. They thought people are so stupid. It can only be La Republique that is so stupid that they will believe that they can manipulate. This is 21st century. This is 21st century. Why will you want to manipulate people? You think people are idiots? I mean, those is an absolutely an abomination to see that a media will falsify messages and present it. He can walk. If he is alive, he can walk. Let him walk to the studio. Let him speak to other social media. Let him address other nations. He cannot just only him alone with a defined CRTV. And then they will show and portray him that the president addressed a nation. Which president? If he is alive, let him speak to other media. It's not just CRTV. I mean, it is quite amazing that third world country like La Republique du Cameroun will try to manipulate to tell the world community that someone is alive. Oh, it is absolutely sad and abomination to even identify yourself. I'm sure I am proud that I am an Ambazonian because we will not tolerate such mess to even exist in the first place. Why will the Francophones go to the media and manipulate to present a news that someone is speaking on which the person is not? They think people are just an idiot, and that make them ignorant. But the one fact thing is, even the diplomat that they are in La Republique, they couldn't speak up and say, no, that is not true. And you find foreign diplomats that are in La Republique, and they can't speak up, they can't stand up. And I imagine what is wrong with all these personalities. What is the purpose of your presence in La Republique as a diplomat to give a feedback? So does La Republique prevent you to speak up that is wrong? Imagine that if there was a president here in the United States that died, the whole media would have known. When Donald Trump declared that he has coronavirus, that he doesn't have coronavirus, that he's taking medication. The whole world is aware that he's taking medication. But someone is dead and they can't release the corpse. They can't release the corpse. And they're trying to manipulate the press. And not only manipulate the press, but try to present his son to become a legitimate president. And on what grounds? And that is why La Republique, you guys need to stand up and speak. You don't just sit and fold your arm and allow this damaging going on. Because we, the people of Southern Cameroon, has moved forward with our sovereign nation and we will do whatever it takes. But you, the Francophones, need to step up more than this. But Although this was not my main topic of discussion, but what I wanted to talk about is Southern Cameroon, because that is what is my priority, and that is what I am bringing this attention. So I talk about the creation of an Ambazonian currency. You see, as we declare ourselves as a sovereign nation. There are critical elements that make us as a sovereign nation. And the world community need to see us bring forth those elements that make us a sovereign nation. And so those are the things that the international community are looking forward. That if we have declared ourselves that we are sovereign nations, what do we do to make us as a sovereign nation? It is our prerogative to present those cases, analysis to show. And one of my recommendations, which I have been spoken about and in several of my videos, the creation of an Ambazonian currency. How does the creation of an Ambazonian currency? It makes La Republique to understand that we no longer depend on La Republique. First of all, a currency is a legal tender within a specific community or a nation that identify themselves that is something in a monetary value that is generally accepted by the people. And so if anyone to operate in Ambazonia will have to accept it as a legal tender. Let's take for example, there's one case that I always give analysis. For those of you who have been to Gwenga Market. Gwenga Market is a trade by barter. Trade by barter, which means those who harvest fish. They harvest fish, but they don't have money. But they need farmers' produce like yam, plantain, ebanga, and all those cocoyam, egusi, and all those things. But because they don't have it, but they only harvest fish. So they bring to Gwenga Market, for those of you who have been in southern region and has understanding. So they bring those there, they exchange the fish for barrel. And so it is a very essential element for trade. So how can we, well, one person will ask the question, how can we